Good morning. This is Talking Devils, the leading independent Manchester United podcast. I'm your host, Wayne Barton, joined by United legend Paul Parker. How are you doing, mate?
I'm fine, thank you very much, Wayne. I've done something different on Saturday
Yes.
in the sense of my football experience.
Okay.
So initially, I should have been working on for the BBC Crystal Palace v Millwall,
Yep.
but then they decided that no, I was going to go. They wanted me to go and do QPR v Sheffield United, but that got totally flipped because editorially they decided that the game they wanted me to be at was Leighton Orient v Charlton,
Okay.
Division One game, and what an experience! I must say, going. I haven't been to a Division One game for quite a while. I watch a lot of non-league football, but when it comes to league football, Division One is one I very rarely go to. And just about the people, Leighton Orient's ground, which is only in theory took me by train took me 40 minutes in from door to door. Coming home, leaving at 5:30, door to door, 40 minutes. You try and do that at West Ham, you're talking 2 hours. If you leave at 5:30, it's 2 hours because of all the amount of people. And the game I watched, it was absolutely brilliant to be working on the game. And then when it was a goal, you felt like when you was talking over the goal, that you knew that you wouldn't have to do it again. You knew that it wasn't going to get stopped. I saw I saw people going up for the ball, jumping. One of them would land, rub his head, and carry on, not fall on the floor. It was
Yeah.
absolutely fantastic watching football with people who didn't want to show weakness, and it was
Yeah.
an enjoyable game. Two goals in the night, two late goals. So it was brilliant. Southeast London v East London. It was brilliant.
So you'd be campaigning for more visits to Leighton Orient then?
Um, anyway, let's get on with the show.
um, I love United don't have much of a history with Orient, but I do. They are famously the team that United played in the 74-75 season, the first game in the Division Two. They went down to Orient. A bit of a culture shock for them down there, and they won the game. And I always remember Tommy Docherty telling me that they bumped into. Obviously, United travelled incredibly. They had loads of supporters there, and there's so many supporters that were being thrown out because they were just piling in. And Docherty was giving them tickets to get back in when the coach arrived, which um, sounds very much like something Tommy Docherty would do. All right, so I don't even know how to describe yesterday's game because again, it wasn't like an entertaining one. Fulham go through on penalties after a 1-1 draw. Very confident at Old Trafford, like we sort of predicted they would be. Very very composed in the way that they played in the game, and they got to. They were never really unduly troubled. There was that moment where Bruno scored a decent goal, sort of response to the criticism of Roy Keane. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But then it goes to the penalty shootout, and you never really have any confidence that United are going to go through because Onana he's so poor at the penalty. I said this before that I don't really want to get on individual players' backs, but we can see that Onana's not like a top level goalkeeper, and he was just nowhere for the penalties, especially when the heat was on and we really needed something. Who was it? There's a pundit who said something like, terrible goalkeepers make better penalty goalkeepers, but that's not been the case. It's difficult to know what strength he does have as a goalkeeper. There were a couple of moments where, and he's been criticised in the press for this already, like something where his score was 1-1 and United were needing to up the pace, and he's just keeping hold of the ball. He was a couple of moments where he dropped a cross at one moment. He was ropey on another one, and everything seems like a palaver all the time. Like you can't. The best goalkeepers are the unfussy ones that you don't like Van der Sar, like, all right, Schmeichel was the best, and he did make a fuss of some stuff, but I think he had the pedigree to back it up. Van der Sar was so brilliant because he was so unfussy. He was so brilliant. Like, never. I mean, yeah, he made the odd mistake. Every goalkeeper does, but he was just got on with it. Never made a fuss of anything. What did you make of that? I mean, you can't really say that Fulham, they didn't deserve to lose the game. They took the more convincing penalties, and United, for yet again, found themselves outplayed at Old Trafford and deservingly out of the cup.
Yeah, I mean, to be perfectly honest, I didn't really want to watch the game. To be perfectly honest, I really didn't want to watch it, and because I knew that I was going to be with you be with you today. I knew I had to watch the game. I mean, I saw the game before it, and I think that made it even worse. If I hadn't watched the game before, then maybe I would have maybe looked at the game differently. But I just watched the game before the Newcastle game.
Yeah,
Newcastle beat Brighton, and I watched Brighton during the week against Bournemouth, and I'm just seeing, and I'm just talking about Brighton, at least Brighton anyway, is that I'm seeing too many sides at a better level, far too many sides at a better level at Manchester United, the way they play football. You talk about Nana, I couldn't call him, I said Nana then, that might just sum it up. How slow he is. Everything's pedestrian when he gets the ball, he kills it. And I'm just looking at other goalkeepers, and you've got to play with your feet, but they shift it. They don't actually exaggerate the point of, I'm good with my feet.
yeah,
They virtually control, pass, and move, which is supposed to be. But he's control, deliberate, and United are not good enough with the ball for him to be so slow on the ball. They need to virtually be counter-attacking as often as possible because they're not good enough when teams get behind the ball. So you're watching. So you're watching that, and against Fulham, you're watching, as you said earlier, Fulham were 100% more composed from start to finish.
yeah,
Even when they went 1-0 down, they wasn't flustered. It wasn't desperation. They just kept doing it. And United were at their peak really when they got back in the game and it got to a better, and they got themselves a better tempo.
yeah,
Young Obi coming on made a difference because he was a threat to the two centre halves.
yeah,
As it went on those few minutes, he got quicker and quicker. I didn't realise how quick he was
yeah,
over a short distance. You could see it, and he caused those two centre halves the biggest problems of their lives. Well, of that game, sorry. They never had to worry about sprinting. Every time the ball went into Highland, it broke down because Highland broke it down.
yeah,
Poor choices, poor decision making. And he comes on, he's a threat. He had two opportunities. Maybe he should have taken one. I was just pleased the young boy, he got longer in the pitch and he was utilised and he showed something. So I think a lot of fans will take heart from that. The manager's got big decisions to make what he's going to do in his next game regarding that position. So we talk about Anana, and watching Anana, it was like watching Peter Shelton, to be perfectly honest, with penalties. And I have to, and when I'm talking about Peter Shelton, he was 40 years of age, so he had a slight excuse. But I mean, at one point, he even got mentioned in commentary. I think, yeah, Alan Shearer said it. He'd already gone down. He was already down as
yeah,
the ball was being. And you think to yourself, come on, please, if guess do something. But no, I didn't. I virtually said it to myself. I didn't really want to say anything to my missus because she was fed up with me already because I was stopping things and rewinding it to show her because it was frustrating me that much. I mean, there was a point as well, and I don't know if you can remember this, Wayne, that in the first half, Fulham played out from the back and Calvin Bassey knocked delivered the ball from the back and it went up near the halfway line. Delit has come in, and I thought Delit had a good game, to be
yeah,
fair.
yeah,
The man, he can sense danger, he sees it, very bullish in everything he does. No messing. If it's going to go, he'll go rose head and he'll answer questions about it rather than pretty football. And he's won the ball. He's come through And as he's winning, he's played and he's won the ball, and his first thing on winning the ball, as he's going to win it off one touch off a ball trying to play down the channel, he puts the ball into an area for Xerxes to go and get it.
Yeah.
Xerxes starts running, and I think myself, he ain't going to get this. It runs away from him, and then you look at Delit. Delit's just turned away, and he's just gone, like throwing his arm up in disgust.
Yeah.
You know, those little things like that, they haven't, you know, I look at that and I think myself, lacking, totally lacking.
There were two moments like that yesterday, and I'm sure you'll remember them when I mentioned them. I'm sure it was Delay. Someone won the ball and played it for Mazraoui, and instead of opening up the play, we're attacking the Stretford end, so it must have been the second half. Mazraoui plays the ball back for Delit, but he plays it in the wide right area. And Delit, like, to be fair to him, he made the ground up and he got there, but it was like what he was nowhere near to be receiving that ball. You've made a player who's not naturally the most athletic run into an area where you've exposed the entire defensive. Like, by all rights, that should have been a turnover of play, and Fulham would have had loads of space in there. And the other one, which definitely would have been on your radar, was Obi had come on and Xerxes played a pass and it was just behind him and he rolled out for a throw-in just behind Obi, and it's kind of like that kind of thing where you just run a bit too far and you can't go back to get it, and Xerxes threw his arms up at him and then he did it again. He did it twice, like within a matter of seconds. I'm like, you don't chast. I know you've talked about this before in different guises. I know you mentioned an incident with yourself, which we won't go on into here, but something similar to that. You throw your arms up at the kid. It's just I couldn't believe what I was seeing, like, and then you've got the old sort of penalty debacle at the end, and it is a little bit unfair the way that life runs. Sometimes Lindelof and Xerxes, who Lindelof scored the winning penalty against Brighton a couple of years ago in the semi-final. Xerxes scored the winning goal in the shootout against Arsenal after a lot of criticism. And, he was all right yesterday, but, like, he misses and he looks heartbroken and everything like that. And fair enough. But, I mean, there is a point where you have to say to yourself, Fulham deserved the win yesterday. It wasn't a game of fine margins, like, yeah, all right, it went down to penalties. But they were fully deserving of the quality to qualify. And United have got to start this kind of like process of understanding where they actually are and not the profile, because they're not where the profile of the club suggests that they are. You know what I mean? The profile gives them like the exposure of being the most talked about club in the land and the most talked about players in the land. And I think that the players believe that means that they're on a par with these like Champions League quality sides, and they were so far off it. I mean, you can't. I made a joke to you on WhatsApp in the game, and I felt a bit poor for doing it. But Lindelof, we've had so many conversations on this podcast where he went from you were talking about how he plays within himself, like he's reserved, he like clenches his fist type of defender because he seems to have that anxiety. And the point was that we were making at the time was that he's probably too weak-mannered to be in a team that wins the league for United. That's no like big shakes or anything like that. You don't criticise a player too much for that. And then we stopped criticising him because it wasn't fair. But yesterday when he came on, I'm thinking to myself, actually, all right, he's not good enough for a team that wins the league, but he's good enough to take a team from lower mid-table up to mid-table, which is... I can't believe that when you look at the quality of the squad and you look at where we were 4 or 5 years ago, and the turnover of squad to have almost universally gotten so poor. I mean, what did you think? I mean, a lot to be said about the sort of character of the squad, and there are so many things missing at the moment. What was the most disappointing thing that was missing for you yesterday?
There's so many things you can name, really. What was missing was yesterday, really, when I look at that game, was someone who could do something to get people to get off their seats. Ahmad.
Yeah.
That's what was, I mean, which is it's absolutely crazy. And that's where United are at the moment, reliant on one player. Even
Yeah.
when United in their great times, and there was incredible players who played, but there wasn't. It was if a top player was missing, yeah, you're going to miss them. But it was always something you'll turn around and say, "But don't worry, we can get by. We've got this, we've got that." You might miss that player because what that difference they offer, the
Yeah.
X factor. But you'd always get by is wrong because we're talking Manchester United of that era, but you would still have control or something. But now Ahmad going, and my first thought was, this is a problem because United, everything they do to create comes via him. When
Yeah.
United didn't create, is because teams were suffocating him and he couldn't get on the ball. The moment he got on the ball, you actually felt, even via a TV set, that you could hear it, you could feel with the fans were kind of going, hold a minute, something could happen here, especially when he was running down on that angle of the box on the corner.
Yeah.
So that was, that's definitely one thing that was missing. But when you look at everything out there, you have to say is leadership is missing when they've got the ball.
Yeah.
Definitely, a presence on the pitch is missing, and everyone. My most annoying thing is when it's Casemiro, really, not Casemiro as a player, a person, but he gets so disrespected. And
Yeah.
I listened to him. I was out with friends on Saturday night, and one of them just started talking about Manchester United and saying this and saying that. And the worst thing about it, he's a Tottenham fan, and he started just talking to me about Amorim this and that, and I'm just there listening to him. And obviously, I said the obvious thing about his team, yeah, but we're not as bad as them. And he goes, oh, look, Casemiro, his legs are gone. I just looked at him, I said, did you see Casemiro play for Real Madrid? And he's gone, yeah, I watched Real Madrid when they won Champions League. I said, but did you watch him? He went, well, I can't really, I can remember him, look, yeah. I turned and said, there's watching football and there's actually really, again,
Yeah.
really watching the football. And I said, you watch Casemiro when he plays for Real Madrid. He wasn't any quicker than
Yeah.
what he is now. I said, but you watch him play for Manchester United and you see what he does. He was doing exactly the same what he was then as what he's doing now. The difference is it's what's around him.
Yeah.
He sees passes, he sees space. His expectancy is for people to run. He knows where he wants. Those people see the space, they make the run, they
Yeah.
expect the ball.
Yeah.
And that's the difference. He sees that space before he's got the ball. He does
Yeah.
it all the time, and sometimes he miskicks it. I said, but that's over the time now. He's getting that little bit, maybe old, a little bit, but there's little tweaks, little things that are starting to happen. But I said, that's natural. I said, but people are not seeing it. And I said, and then when you listen to these commentaries, yeah, when United lose, where they've got no legs in midfield and that, he's like, but Real Madrid never really had a quick midfield. Him and Modric played together, but they played with that,
And
and
Cruz.
they
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and they retained the ball better. So when
Yeah.
teams got the ball, they weren't in good areas now, and they worked it, and then they had a back four that squeezed them up to make it tight for teams to pass the ball through them.
Yeah.
Teams couldn't see space, and I said, then you look at the two cents, Ramos and Pepe, to name but two of them behind them. They had two ferocious players. One of them was one of them was a silent assassin, and the other one was just an assassin, but
Yeah.
they led the team and they kept they kept them there.
Yeah.
Now you look at it now with Casemiro, and the biggest shout was when Casemiro and Ericsson played together, and everyone started calling that, oh, he's got it wrong, two old players like that. But when you got centre halves who sit back there because they're worried about legs and they want to make it easy when they get on the ball, and just so they can make simple passes rather than going closer, you've got a big problem.
Yeah.
So that's what I look at, Wayne. Those little bits that now people don't want to recognise. Still a great player, and and he gets absolutely persecuted every time United don't win a game of football.
Yeah. There was January last year, I think it was, when Carragher came out. I mean, shameful what he did. Because he basically said Casemiro's finished. He actually said that
Yeah.
on, it might have even been earlier than January. And I think, you know, if you're a former professional footballer and you come out and you say something like that, you know why he's doing it. He's doing it because he's a Liverpool legend and he's having a pop at United, and that was a thing. But like you said, it's so short-sighted in terms of like the whole thing. And like, yeah, you put a good player in a post squad, the level will come down. That's what happens. Do you know, they do raise it a little bit. And also, like you said, the play with Real Madrid started. It always started and ended with Kroos and Modric, and Casemiro was there to back them up, and the defense was there to back him up. Whereas at United, it starts with Onana and Maguire, and the play's already slow. By the time it gets to Casemiro, who's been expected to do things he wasn't doing at Real Madrid, and these things. I mean, you just explained all that yourself, and I'm saying that in the way that I relate that to what's happening in the United side. But because the passes don't come off sometimes, or because the tackle's a bit ill-timed because of the fact that some other players left him exposed, it lends to this criticism that you get of a player. But then, obviously, that's also what Amorim inherited. So he's inherited a reputation, what he's took on. And, like, it took him months for Casemiro to get back in the side, where he sort of realised, probably something from seeing him on the training pitch every single week. Actually, why are we not playing this guy? Why is he being criticised that bad? I mean, you know, in terms of what we've got, I'm not saying his level of performance is outstanding. It's not, but like you just said there, where they're putting the finger of criticism is just ridiculous. So we've got a lot of comments in here. I'll just come to them quickly. Yeah, we've got one massively missing Ahmad like right now. Ben Allen says, "Morning, mate. Are you doing well?" He says, fairly ludicrous Amorim talking about winning the league yesterday. We'll talk about that in a little while, actually. But he also says why Nana was selected. Well, the other keepers were injured, weren't they? Heaton and Bayendia were both out. JS says, Paul, are you free on Thursday or Sunday? I'm sure the position in the team is yours if you want it. Yeah, well, actually, I will say if Paul was going to be playing, he might play the right wing, the right side of the centre half, which might suit you nicely. But Billet played quite well yesterday, and you praised him. You sent me praise of him. You know that you thought he played well. Now the penalty takers. Let's just talk about this very quickly before we move on to the next part. Dan says here, do you think Garnacho should have put himself forward as one of the 5 nominated penalty takers yesterday? Well, it was strange for me to see Dalot step up so early in the shootout and then Lindelof to be there as well, because I didn't have any confidence in Dalot scoring. I'm like, hang on a minute, are there not other players on the pitch who should be taking these penalties here? Garnacho, yeah, one of them. I can understand protecting Obi. I don't think that's fair, you know, until that point. But I mean, it's strange, wasn't it? Like that order to have 2 defenders in the first 4.
Yes, it's strange, but to be perfectly honest, if you looked at it from when I was playing, Steve Bruce would have been there, wouldn't he? One or
Yeah,
two.
yeah, yeah,
Brucey would have been there. But there's certain centre halves, you know, who you know that you'll kind of go, well, yeah. And
yeah,
Brucey was definitely one of them. And there is other, we could think other teams, and there is people who step up who you know. Garnacho is a great shout to mention because of the way he plays, because he is so selfish. You'd think yourself he would want that. Saying that, it wouldn't. Maybe I look at it and we missed. Was it we missed? Did we miss our? Was it our fourth? Was it our third and fourth penalties we missed?
yeah. It was Lindelof.
Yeah,
So
and
Casemiro scored, Dalot scored,
yeah, no,
Bruno
no,
scored.
Casemiro.
Yeah,
Bruno scored,
Bruno,
didn't he?
Dalot, Casemiro, first 3, and
Yeah,
then Lindelof
fourth.
4 and Stokesy 5.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, be honest, really, there's a lot to say there. Really, with someone, some people go, but he's only young. Well, I'm sorry, he's played a lot of football, and the way he plays, he presents himself as this character, this I want to be. You would have thought he would have stepped forward to get something, to be one of those people.
Yeah,
Definitely before Lindelof, who's hardly kicked a ball in anger this season, just making bit parts off the bench of late. And I think people would have felt a little bit more assured if they'd seen someone more seasoned stepping up. To be perfectly honest, to go and do it.
Yeah.
So that one is one that I'm sure people, a lot more people are talking about really on that side.
The young lad who came on in extra time, Heaven, looked quite good, didn't he? I mean, that's the one positive to take. It looks
Yeah, I mean that really shocked me that he went and done that. And again, in certain ways, I think the manager is kind of just trying all different things.
yeah,
I mean, I think it wasn't something that was necessary for him to go and do at all. But to go and bring the lad on, put him where he did in that position where he could have maybe have made a mistake that Fulham bounce off and go and score a second goal. That was a big call by him, and maybe, and I like to think he's he's looking ahead at some. He's looking ahead,
yeah,
and when he come on, to be honest, he did look comfortable. He didn't get a lot of touches of the ball, but just his position and the way he presented himself suggested to me he looked like someone who had actually done that before. So to come on in that position, even as an experienced player, where it's on an edge, is something that little bit you
yeah,
want to make sure your first header, your first touch is right, and you want it as quick as possible. The last thing you want to be doing is chasing down towards your own goal with somebody, and you've got to make a decision what you're going to do next. I thought he just not a lot of touches, but I just thought he looked at ease. To be fair, so for me, I mean, I've got time for the manager in this moment because you can't blame a tradesman who's been given a bad box of tools. So so I'm interested really in what he's trying to do. I think he's just trying everything at this moment, knowing that this season is disappearing from him. There's a cup competition that he's still in now, and then God knows what happens if we go out this in this next stage of Europe. Really,
yeah.
how's it going to be for him and Manchester United?
Yeah, all right. So we'll talk about that now. But just before we talk about the game itself, obviously Obi's cameo from the bench has had a lot of people suggesting that he should start on Thursday night. I mean, it's a tricky one because the away leg is the first leg. But what would you do in that situation? Do you think he should start with the kid?
I personally think he should. I mean, what is it? What is a kid really in football when you're talking about someone 18, 19 years? Is he 18?
I think he's 17.
He's 17, 17, 18. Ryan started at 17. Somehow along you've got to get it into him. When is a good time? No one really knows. Only time will tell.
Yeah,
um, I I definitely would because at the end of it, it's not as if you know he's going to retire at 70 years of age. So he's a young kid, he's young, and there's
yeah,
plenty of time for him to grow into it, become experienced. It's all over and done with by mid 50s, mid 30s. So there's only a short span there, really. It's only so much time you can be this young, inexperienced kid. Then you move to a different category. So
yeah,
that's the one. This one. So this whole thing about being young, I think sometimes you've got to look at it and just say you've got to do it. And given the position that United are in, I think they have to do it. He's a
yeah,
threat in behind. You'd have to say at 17 that he holds. There's no fear with him as such. He wants to prove a point. He's ambitious. He chose to leave Arsenal to get away from there because I'm I'm thinking myself. He saw that it was going to be United were going to more chance of getting the opportunities to play,
yeah,
be around the first team than what there was with Arteta and Arsenal. So you say to yourself, you've got to go and you look at the situation with Hoyland. You've got to think, how do the other players who are playing with him feel with him up front? How are they mentally when they're going out on the pitch with him playing? And you've got to
yeah,
remember that you know any men out there or even girls, I should say, when you're playing, when you get up in the morning, you're going to go and play your game on a Sunday morning or Saturday and there's players in there even though you're playing with, you think they're not really that good, and you see them regularly and they're not having a good time. Your mind, you don't trust them. You don't really want to give them the ball, and I think that's happening in the way
yeah,
with Hoyland. And in a certain way, I think it would do him a favour. I don't think he needs it. I think he's feeling everything that no one in their lives would like to feel at this moment in time he's doing, and he's trying his best to be part of it, but he's mostly feeling like a spare leg because his games have been awful, seriously awful, and he's been repeatedly picked to play all the time. He may be asking himself why. So I think the manager's got to do it. He can't keep putting the lad through it anymore. You
Yeah,
know, he needs a break from it. So I think he's got to play him. I would, and as well. And are you saying that the Turkish boy is injured?
yeah,
Well, I mean, I'm trying to think of during my time of playing football from the age of 17, how many times I've seen players get injured in training. I've seen a few serious injuries happen when
yeah,
when non-tackle injuries, the odd things, but so many players get in. I just don't understand it now.
yeah,
It seems like the more medical staff you get, the more injuries you get. Is it a way of justifying that? I don't know, but it's a shame, really, because I would now be saying then he's got to play him. He's got
yeah.
to play him because I'm watching Anana, and sorry, I've changed it a little bit, Wayne. I do
Yeah,
I need to say he's got poor hands.
yeah,
His hands are poor. I don't believe, and I think I said this before, I don't believe that from the moment he was playing as a kid, he was never a goalkeeper. Goalkeepers are born to be goalkeepers, normally born. And if one thing goalkeepers have got, they've got good hands, really, really good hands. He
yeah,
hasn't got good hands. He has got maybe not strong hands, not skilled hands. It's a worry every time he saves something. You worry where the ball's going to go next.
yeah,
He might be able to get behind it, but you worry where the ball is going to go. To go, sorry.
yeah.
I said goal there because I'm thinking, Christ, he lets in goals. I think, but but
um,
he worries me. It not worries me. There's a better word than that. He scares me. I've got no belief in anything. I'm sitting there. Even at certain times, the team have looked in a game. I'm not going
yeah,
to say comfortable because I don't think they're comfortable. And all of a sudden, there's a rick, and every team they play against, you go Manchester United goalkeeper, hit the target.
yeah,
So all you got to do, hit the target, and you'll get a chance. That's all they're saying. And
yeah,
you'd think you're talking about a goalkeeper in a team in the first, second division, National League or something. You're not. You're talking Manchester United's goalkeeper.
yeah.
Not right.
And also, I mean, it is to give him the benefit of the doubt in just the perspective of it is the most high profile position in world football for a footballer. So I do feel a little bit of sympathy in that regard. But the point is, it's the same theory as like when Carroll and Howard were in there, but I think they were better goalkeepers than Onana. Is that you had that
Yes.
anxiety in the back line? That's what you're talking about, really. You're a
Yeah.
defender. You're saying you're doing your job well. It doesn't matter if you're doing your job well. Yesterday, I mean, the marking for the goal was pitiful because I mean there was like a training ground goal, but they often are. But you do not have any confidence in the goalkeeper to save anything. And the thing was, it's funny because I've seen the commentary at the time, and then the reaction after the game, and everyone was saying he played fairly well, but criticising him for the penalties. Well, I just think like there are things. The goalkeeper situation is a massive one for United at the moment because so much of it, and this does go back to Ten Hag as well. So much of United's ability to build up in this kind of system with these players depends on getting that ball out very, very quickly and turning over the play. Not that we've got bags of pace, but we've got some pace. And the point is, you've got to stretch teams, and you've got to do that quickly on a turnover. And United just do not. They play to their own weaknesses, and they're doing it under Amorim, and they're exposing their own weaknesses, and that makes them undynamic. It makes it they're unable to stretch the play. Everything's ponderous in the build-up, and they're playing for set plays all the time. That's what United are doing at the moment, and it's difficult to watch. As Box says, very depressing time for United. Fair play to Fulham, organised, functional team, but nothing special. I hope we can sneak through versus Sociedad. Well, here we go then, Paul. We'll talk about this, but I mean, this is a difficult one. They were beaten 4-0 by Barca at the weekend, but the ninth in La Liga, you look at them and think they've got this Zubimendi lad who's like well rated by some of the top clubs in Europe. So they've got a player there who's going to cause us danger. United will be fearful of him because they do get fearful of individual players. And this is a very, very, very critical side. I mean, it's a critical time because the way that this is balanced for United is crucial to the near future. I mean, we'll talk about in a moment this project 2028 and what Amorim was saying about winning the league and everything like that. But so much of that trajectory as a football club depends on qualifying for the Champions League next year. And there's no belief that if United can't beat Fulham at home on penalty without even needing penalties, if they can't beat them in the FA Cup, you don't really. It doesn't bode well for coming up against a side who will probably have their confidence boosted after a loss like that to think that they've got United coming. You know what I mean? That United are coming to town, they'll raise the game a little bit, and United just don't have that capability to raise their game at the moment. What? How are you feeling ahead of this time? I mean, you're talking about putting in a couple of the young lads there. That's and changing the goalkeeper if necessary. But it does feel like, and not just yesterday, but it feels like the last 4 or 5 games, it does need like a shake-up of 4 or 5 players in, right?
I just think for everyone, I think it does for the fans. I think if he was to go out, say, and put the same team out against Real Sociedad, I think a lot of fans. I mean, there'd be. We know there's going to be incredible support in Spain.
Yeah.
But there'd be a lot of fans who will be going now, and they're hoping they're not going to go and see that again. They want to see it. They want to see something different. And I don't think they mean the usual difference. They're just something out of the blue. So if young Obi was to start, yes, they'll be kind of going, he's not experienced, he's not this. But everything's said that what a great way to gain it. And they're hoping, being young, again, that he's going to be fearless. He's not going to, names ain't going to frighten him, to be honest, really. Hopefully he doesn't play FIFA. So he doesn't see these players in FIFA and start looking at them like that way. But I think in a certain ways that it will make such a difference if he does change it up now. If he was to change it, it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest because I think he's going. That's what he's looking. He's looking ahead. He's forward thinking about things. He's had enough of certain things going on at this moment. So I'm quite looking forward to what he's going to do. And we've got to remember this. Real Sociedad. We look at them domestically, and you can't. It just doesn't work that way to judge it. To be perfectly honest, I mean, there's people sitting there in Spain, mostly looking at why Manchester. What's Manchester United? Why are they sitting where in the league like this? They're thinking what's going on there. So league position doesn't come into it when you talk about a European competition. They'll play in a very similar way to what the national team play, which is very similar to Barcelona in that way. It's a trait. That's the reason why they win Euros. So they go from club to national team, and it fits. Real Sociedad had a few players in the Euro squad, so you can't kind of dismiss. You can't dismiss them. You can't dismiss them as individuals. It's going to be very, very difficult. They will have a lot of the ball. They are going to frighten the life out of this back three because they play against this. They know how to go against it. They will be running wide into spaces because they know there's no legs in the back. The quickest player, the most tenacious, the strongest is De Ligt. De Ligt has played this system mostly all his life. I saw De Ligt when he played for Ajax on 2 occasions out there, and I saw him when they played Spurs. I saw him play in Amsterdam, and I saw him when they come to White Hart Lane. Excellent. He plays it. He knows it. He senses danger. He is an out-and-out defender because he sniffs danger and he gets there. Tackles are strong. Everything about him. So he will survive it in that way. But it does worry me because if I look at United, and I keep saying this, the teams I watch more regularly are West Ham and Manchester United. And I put them both down as maybe the slowest 2 teams in the Premier League. no natural pace in the team.
yeah,
Everything is no one floats. Everyone has to work hard. I saw someone floating yesterday. That was young Obi. When he
yeah,
runs, he's on top of the grass.
yeah,
There's no trace that he's run that distance because you can't find it. He's not touching the grass. Everyone else works hard to run, and that's not right to me. That is not right in today's football. That's going because I know now, first and foremost, athlete first, footballer second.
yeah.
That's what it's about now more than anything, really. So it is a worry what's going to happen because this team are so fluid, so fluid. It's incredible with the ball and
Yeah.
without the ball. So many players who run without the ball, and that's what Manchester United haven't got. Players who run without the ball.
Amorim was talking about possibly winning the league yesterday, which obviously seems a lot way off, but it is part of what United's projection for this next couple of years is meant to be, right? The Project 2028, 3 years to win the league by the 150th anniversary. So there's 4 summers, summer 25, summer 26, summer 27 to build that team. So much depends on qualifying for the Champions League in order to have a quicker turnaround in this summer. And then you've got, I mean, if you say, all right, from United's perspective in terms of so the turnover of the squad under Ten Hag was more or less absolute. So now it's almost completely different from what it was under Ollie, right? There were a couple of players who were struggling in there, but like Dallo, Fernandez, but more or less it's a completely turned over squad from that point. And you're saying, all right, that's got to happen again. So it's also hampered by the PSR rules. So it really is like there's a lot depending on that Champions League qualification. If they don't get it, because it seems remote, to be honest, then you're saying a lot of it depends on the speed in which Ratcliffe can take over and then have the sort of gumption or responsibility of clearing the debt, because the debt is, the interest that's on the debt is so massive at the moment, and the interest that's on the debt that's on the transfers that are already owing. The way that United can operate in the summer is going to be they'll be looking at free transfers. And don't get me wrong, you see the newspaper articles and you look at some of those free transfers that are available in the summer. The two of them are from Lille, Angel Gomez and Jonathan David, and they say, all right, those aren't players that are going to win United a league. Angel Gomez went from United, but you know what I mean. They'd improve this squad as a stepping stone, but only to say, all right, they'll be mid-table in the Premier League. It's a very, very difficult scenario, and I mean, Paul, is there any way you can see that? I mean, looking now, I mean, I looked at under Ollie and I thought, all right, you give him 2 or 3 players, and there's a first team squad, first team 11 that could go toe to toe with most teams in the league if you're giving him 2 or 3 extra players. Now, I mean, Delit, Menu, Casemiro, the number of players that you could say would go in that squad and sort of still be challenging for title in 2 or 3 years, which is what they're projecting, is very minimal. Like Casemiro, I'm saying there because of nice to him earlier in the episode, but he won't be in that number either. So you're having a turnover of 10 players. I just don't see how you're going to do that, like in that space of time. It will take something dramatic, and that's also saying that this manager's the right manager, which is still a gamble at this point.
Yeah, it is a gamble, and it's just I don't know. I do worry when people come out of these plans as such. And remember, QPR done one
Oh,
10 years
8-year
ago.
plan, was it?
Eh?
Was it the 8-year plan or something they had?
Yeah, something
Yeah,
like that. It was. It was under the
yeah,
mad Italian owner at the time, or chairman Palladini. It come out during that time, and I'm trying to think, one of the someone from Ferrari was involved, I think, as
yeah. I
well.
remember that. Yeah,
I remember that. And I hate all that. At this moment in time, it's great to have these projections. I think, yeah, it's part of, you have to project something, but don't know, keep it to yourself rather than pull it out there and put that kind of pressure on, because at this moment in time, the most important thing for Manchester United is the next game.
Yeah.
And then you're looking then more than anything that to the end of the season, and you want to talk about what's going to happen next season. Where are we going next season? What's going to happen? Who's going to go? Are you going to be able to sell anybody?
Yeah.
Who can you sell to bring money in to try and improve his team? Because you're talking everything else. What is that? I mean, we as well. I just wonder the Ratcliffe thing. I'm not sure. Is there cohesion between them and the Glazers? Are they a separate entity? Is it all morphing into one with the same end product? Um, and then you're trying to talk about winning, to because it boils around being in Champions League. To be perfectly honest, when you look at some of the teams this season, you look at them, they're in a better position to progress
Yeah.
in certain ways than what Manchester United are, because Manchester United are starting at the bottom of the ladder to
Yeah.
do it. And who wants their players is the question. And then when you talk about achieving, you really do need to, when you're going out looking at players, you mentioned players from Lille. I know I've seen Gomez play, and then I don't know the other lads. I don't
Yeah.
know him. But I look at it and I think about an Amorim team, and I'm going to say that system, that 3-4-3, kind of needs energy and legs.
Yeah.
You can't really be a static. I don't think a static player doesn't work unless you've got really good legs around him. So a Gomez is a static player. He's not an athlete, is he?
Not really. No, that's
No,
fair.
you
He
know.
does move. He's a
He,
glider, but he's
yeah, I mean, to be perfectly honest, he makes me look 6'1" in that sense. And I know I'm not one to question any. I can't do it that way, but I, I, I I'm not sure on that one. I think there
yeah.
has to be. I think again, it's another talk thing because he used to be at United, and there's another people to put it in there to maybe say, "Oh, he's done great in France." Another one who left United to improve his career, so it's something to. It's a story to talk about if he was to come back, because finding a spot United, giving them a story makes even is more content then, and it sells. But
Yeah.
I think you got to look better than that, to be perfectly honest. But wherever you're looking at United, it's consolidation
Yeah.
rather than winning, rather than going out and talking about Champions League and whatever. There has to be a step up from this season and a step up from this season for next season to go and know you get to be in that hat for Champions League football and all season. That's
Yeah.
a big jump now, Wayne, isn't it? It's a big jump to go in there and look for consistency because that comes with a squad as well. And you know that a squad at Manchester United will still involve players who have seen off so many managers.
Yeah.
I mean,
It,
I still look at it, and it was mentioned that we're still talking about a Manchester United anything, and there's still a Lindelof here, there's still a Luke Shaw here, and there's still a Harry Maguire here, and I'm not understanding it. And the club's supposed to be looking going forward. I still question why they took up the option on Harry Maguire. You have to go forward sometimes, and it's been poor. So
yeah.
why is that still going on? If you're going to step forward, sometimes as much as anything, you look behind. Done maybe what 7, 8 seasons. As said to me, and I've said it many times. I use it in all different scenarios, and for me, it's right. Even because it was said to me, and it's the truth. Sentiment could cost you your job,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's cost a few managers, I think, when they've gone down that road a little bit. and it and if you start using that, you're going down the wrong path. To be honest, really, sometimes you have to be fearless, and that's
Yeah.
what Sir Alex was. He was fearless. He done that. He proved that with what he done with players, and he was questioned and he was abused by fans because they with certain players he let go, but he proved it by what he achieved, and that's the line you have to go down. And if the manager wants to do that, these people have got to go with him if he's going
Yeah.
to do that. But at this moment in time, you can't achieve if you've got, and I named only three of them. You can't go down that road with those players.
Yeah. Box says, I think the Maguire option was activated partly with the fact Lindelof and Evans will leave at the end of the season as free agents. So they didn't want to replace 3 centre backs, which is, we can understand that. But I mean, what the point is, like what Paul's saying there, is that the progression, you're not going to see the progression while those players are there, and that's the point.
Well, it was. Sorry, Wayne. I mean, to be perfectly honest, they've just signed a lad. They've got the lad Heaven.
Yeah.
They've got him now. And I think it's easier to go out and replace centre backs and replace centre forwards.
Well, I mean, that's a different kettle of fish. I mean, the thing that United need at the moment, well, what they're going to need, first of all, they're going to need horses for courses. So they're going to need the right players in the right positions, and they're going to need to replace a goalkeeper. What they need in terms of attitude, they probably need 5 or 6 Darren Fletchers and O'Shea's in the summer, is what they really need. They need the sort of work rate players.
Exactly right. United can't talk about these these big players anymore. The word now everyone uses is elite, which I find strange to use in their football. Everyone's an elite player.
Yeah.
If you want, United can't go out and get top players. Other people come out and say they're not going to be in the Champions League, so top players ain't going to want to come. If the top player's ambitious and he's got a heart and he loves his football and he's got ambition, he's going to go, I want to go there, because if I go and achieve at Manchester United, there's no bigger platform to go and do it in the UK. No bigger platform to go and to play on than at Manchester United delivering. So it is possible for United to get maybe top good players, but you need players who are going to want to work hard and just dig in there and build a foundation for United to bounce on. And that's what Sir Alex done, didn't he? He done that. And then when he went out and he cherry picked to go and put his little bits on the top, and it all started from there. And that's the way it's got to be again.
Yeah, the summer of '89, which people talk about. Obviously, United had this dreadful run after that, and his job was just coming to this point here from Box, like to sign 6, 7 out of 10 players rather than 2, 10 out of 10 players. Ratcliffe or in that operation said Mbappe rather. Are we back, Paul? Are you there?
Yeah, yep.
Had a bit of a freeze there. Sorry about that. They want to sign the next Mbappe rather than finding him. Like they want to find the next. But what they want to find, really, they want to find a Declan Rice or someone like that. They want to find those people who are actually doing the work. Looking for those flashy players, the players that make up a squad. Arsenal at the weekend after Sociedad, probably on a bit of a low at the moment because of the fact they're out title race. How do you see that one going?
I see that game being one of them ones where it could be like the Liverpool, Manchester City, the ones before.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah, I think it's your end. Yeah, I'm blaming you. Definitely not me. Yeah, you stopped still, Wayne. Have we lost you? You back?
Think.
You there?
I'm back. Sorry about that, guys. All right.
Right.
Arsenal at the weekend.
I think it's a game that, again, this could go horribly wrong, but it's a big game. It's a big game. They'll try and it'll be tried to be revitalised into Wenger v Sir Alex. All that will come into it. They'll try and bring that into it and then talk about United where they are now from that time, and with Arsenal who have failed again, to keep themselves in contention to win a league. Arsenal suit Manchester United because they play very, very slow.
Yeah.
They don't try and run in behind. They play all in front, so it'll be heading and volleying. That's what it would be. There'll be balls into the box, and it will suit Harry Maguire to a T. The team will sit deep and just take that all in like a sponge to do that, and then it will be Arsenal just virtually putting balls on top of Anana just to see how things are going to work out defensively. To be
Yeah.
perfectly honest, it isn't going to be a very exciting game in that sense. You're not going to see great football, um, but it's a game really, and it wouldn't surprise me if United got something out of it. As long as I don't see afterwards, if they do get something out of it, that United are back because they're beating Arsenal. Because everyone, people who know, but the next game is even more important because it'll be even tougher because they'll be up against a team that are going to want to run more and run behind and work harder and move the ball quicker than what Arsenal do.
Yeah, that Sociedad leg is looming. Both of those ties are going to be extremely difficult, and the Arsenal one in the middle, right? Yeah, they are a bit low on confidence at the moment. Good time to play them, but United, just because it's a good time to play them, anyone will be saying it's a good time to play United, which is just as bad, really, to be honest. All right, before I get any more internet mishaps, so hopefully that was just a one-off. Considering I've just moved into a new office, can't be doing with that every week. Thanks for Paul for his time. Dave's not with us today, by the way, because he's doing some IKEA assembly. So, and I don't think he'll be available for the next week one because he's coming over for the game and he'll be traveling on the Monday. So it'll be Paul and I here to talk about. I'm pretty sure, and I'm not a pessimist by heart, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be a difficult week for United. So hopefully there'll be some new difficult stuff for Paul and I to talk about rather than the same old stuff next week. Anyway, thanks for Paul for his time. Have a good week, guys, and thanks for listening and watching.